If you are looking for a fast and easy way to create landing pages that convert, you are in the right place. Today, we're going to be going over this full tutorial on how to create pages inside of Unbounce. Unbounce, for those who aren't familiar, is a software that helps you create landing pages in a drag and drop environment. No coding required at all. And I've tried lots of these drag and drop softwares, and Unbounce is by far my favorite. So that's the one that we are going to be going over today, a full step-by-step tutorial. Now, if you are completely brand new to Unbounce and looking to get an account, I encourage you to check out the link down below. If you go through and sign up through that link, you will get 20% off your first 3 months or 20% off a full year, and not to mention a 14-day free trial. So you can try this out and follow along in this tutorial for completely free, no risks, essentially. But now that we got that out of the way, let's actually head over to Unbounce. So inside of the platform, when you first arrive, you are going to come to a page that looks something like this. Now, you probably aren't going to have pages inside of here because you have a brand new account, but this is what you will see. And the first thing we're going to want to do is create a landing page. So we're going to come over here to create new landing page. And from here, you're going to be greeted with two options, the Classic Builder on the left and the Smart Builder on the right. The Smart Builder, as you can see, is still in beta, and so I'm not going to be going over it in this video. It's awesome, but there's still a lot of bugs and things to work out, so I recommend the Classic Builder right now. And once you get inside of the Classic Builder, there are a couple of different options and things that we can do. So as you can see, Unbounce not only allows you to create landing pages, but here in the top left-hand corner, you can also create pop-up bars or pop-ups, sticky bars, and of course, landing pages. So that's the first thing that you need to do is pick your content type. For this one, we're going to be going over landing pages. Next, you can go through and choose your template. This is one of the things that I love about Unbounce is they have lots of different templates that you can choose from no matter what your business may be. And also these are proven and tested templates that Unbounce knows has high conversion rates. So you can see here, there are a couple different filters. You can filter by different industries or products, whatever it may be, or you can also sort by the most popular, the name, or the most recent templates, essentially. For this tutorial, as you can see, there's lots inside of here. We're just going to go through and pick on this first one here, fresh goods. And once we've decided on this title, we can then start with this template. You can add this as a name, so we'll call this YouTube demo, just so we can identify this page later, and then hit start with template. We can also start editing on the desktop version or the mobile version. For this one, we're going to start on the desktop and then move over to mobile later. And right behind me where my face is at is where it says start template right down below here. So we're going to click that. And once we click that, we arrive on a page that looks something like this. And now if this is your first time inside of Unbounce, chances are this may be a little intimidating, but don't worry. As soon as you kind of get the grasp on where everything is at, it is very easy to use. So just getting you acquainted with everything and where everything is to begin with, and we'll dive deeper into these as we go through. Here in the left-hand column is all of your page elements. So here are things where you can go through and add sections, box, add text, images, pages, lightbox, or anything like that. Essentially, look at this left-hand side. On your wanting to add something new to the page, you come to the left-hand side. Now on the right-hand side, you're going to notice there are lots of different settings as well. Look at the right-hand side as you are wanting to edit something that is currently on the page. And say that I wanted to go through and edit some of the elements inside of here. I could highlight this and I could change this, change the font to this or whatever it may be. We're just going to keep it where it's at, or you can change the text size down to really small if you wanted to go through and do that. But we're going to adjust this back up to where it was. And if you're ever going through and you make mistakes like that, you can go through and hit undo, and it will undo your decisions until you get back to where you're at. Something handy to keep in mind, especially when building landing pages and you're learning, because sometimes you do things that you don't want to and you want to go through and undo. So be sure to take advantage of that. So remember, left-hand side is adding new elements. Right-hand side is editing the current elements on the page. So if I come through and click here, there are lots of different elements in the page as well. Now, another thing that is very important to keep in mind is these lines that you see right here. Now, these lines actually do serve a very important purpose, and that is to make sure that no matter what screen people are on, they are going to see your page in a correct format. And what I mean by that is if we take this, and you notice as soon as we come past this line, Unbounce makes everything go red essentially, and you're kind of wondering what's going on here. What that means, on certain screens, it could go through and not look the correct way. So you always want to make sure that when you are building new elements or text inside of here, that you stay inside of these lanes. Obviously, Unbounce makes this really easy because they tell you as soon as you go over there that you don't want to do that basically. And as you can see, the great thing about Unbounce as well is I am able to freely move this around as I please. This is one of the great things about Unbounce compared to other page builders, is most of the time you're working inside of blocks and you're a little bit restricted, but here I can move this even just down a little bit. I can move it over. I could take this right here and make it longer that way or longer this way. Of course, just making sure that we're staying inside of these this guide essentially. So we're going to move that back over inside of there. And you're also going to notice while I have this highlighted, and this is not just for this section, but all the sections, we have these little helpful things to help either center, left align, or center, left align, right align, or even if you want to do it top of this element, you could do that, or you could go down to the bottom of this element, the little box that we're inside of here, or the middle of the element as well, if you wanted to move those around and get them exactly where you want them to be. Now, of course, here on the right-hand side, I think this is helpful to go through just real quickly. You can go through and change the fonts right here. You can change the size of the text. You can change the line spacing if you wanted that to be a little bit higher. The text color, of course, is where we could come through and change this, to red. You're gonna notice when I click on this though, there it goes through and it's red. Sometimes you do have to have the whole thing highlighted in order to change the colors. That time I didn't have to, but we're gonna change that back to white because that red looks really bad. And then you can go through and bold, text, or whatever it may be. And then there's also options for alignment over here. And then you could change this to a bullet as well if you would like to do that. But I'm not going to, so I'm gonna come up to our handy dandy undo button and do that there. Now moving on, let's scroll down here to this button and talk about the settings inside of here. So remember, I click inside of here and now I'm greeted with different properties that are associated with this button. So you can see the CTA visible. If I wanted to make it not visible, I could do that, although I don't recommend that for your main CTA. And then you can go through and adjust the size, the width. If we want to do this 200, we could do so, and change the position as well. Here you can go through and do the action. So this is really helpful when especially when you have a button. This is where you can go through and change the URL where you send that page to. So if we wanted this order now to go to a URL, we can come through and specify that by saying www. Let's have them go to zocomarketing.com. We could do that. Or if we wanted to, so when somebody clicks on that button, they will go to ZoCo Marketing, or we could say, let's actually have them go to a Lightbox or call a number or even send an email. So there's lots of different options that you can have somebody do inside of the button, and it's really easy to change out the links and all that stuff inside of there and change the text. So you can also specify if you want the target to be in a new window. So when they click on the button, they go to it opens up a new window up here, or if it stays stays in the same tab. So lots of different options. And like I said, you don't have to code anything, which is really nice. You can come through and change your text. So let's say that, we want to change this to buy now. We could totally do that. And then here you can come through and change your fonts and of course the colors as well as you wanted to go through and do that, buy now or whatever it may be. That color does not do great though, so we're going to undo that as well. You can adjust the borders, and this is something that a lot of people like to do is change the corners as well. If you wanted to make them a little more round, you could do so and do that. Oops, I'm on the wrong. So you'll notice here that I'm inside of this property, so it's editing the frame outside of here because I'm clicked there. So you can see that it's changing the radiuses over here. But if I go now to the button and then do this, then I can come through and change the corner radiuses. And there, now we have a little bit more of a round button. So now we've talked about how to change the text, how to change the buttons. Now let's actually talk about if you wanted to change this to a form. So that's where this left-hand column comes into play. Let's say instead of a button here, you wanted it to be a form. So let's go through, let's delete this button and let's add a form. So as you see, here's all the different things that we can add. Let's get the form option, drag it over here, put it here. And inside the form, it's going to ask you to design your form. You can come through and add a custom field, so a text field, or they have predefined ones over here. These are the main ones that people have. We want first name, last name, email. And let's say that we wanted to capture the company name. So we're going to do a single field file, and then this is untitled. As you can see here, we're going to call this company name. Perfect. And then as you can see here, there is an option to require the field so that when somebody goes to fill out an email and say they don't fill in their first name, but fill in their last name and email for whatever reason, you want to make sure that the form doesn't go through essentially in that place. So we want these things to be required. So let's say that first name is required field. Last name, we don't really care about as much. So we're not going to have that required, but if people want to give it to us, awesome. As you see here, when we do the required, it adds a little asterisk there. Email, we for sure want to be required. And then company name, we want to be required as well. So when somebody goes to fill out the form, if they don't fill out first name, email, or company name, it will not let them submit that form. And an awesome thing right here as well, in the email, you can validate email addresses as well to make sure that it actually is a valid email that is going inside of there. I think that's an awesome feature that Unbounce offers. And there are lots of different advanced features inside of this form that you can go through and do. But for most people watching right now, chances are this is going to get you most of what you need to do inside of here. Oh, one other thing I do want to point out is there are like drop-down menus. So if you wanted to do like state, providence, day of the week, whatever it may be, there's lots of different options or even check boxes. So we're going to have this be our form. We're going to hit done inside of here. And now we have this form. And as you can see, we kind of have a problem. It's like, oh, it's kind of in the way. It's in the way of this text. It's kind of like bleeding into this page a little bit. So let's go through and fix that. The great thing is we can adjust this section right here. We just click here and then we go through and pull that down. So now we have a little bit more space inside of here. And we also can maybe make this form a little bit smaller, or we can come over here and instead of it being down here, let's go through and actually move it. Let's move this text to the left a little bit. Let's move that up there, and then let's grab our subhead and move this down here just to adjust a little bit so that everything looks kind of in line. And I'm not a designer by any means, but as you kind of get the idea of the power of this and what you can kind of do inside of here and adjust. And then those are kind of overlapping a little bit, so I'm going to put that there. And then now we have this form, which is now in a better placement. It's not in the way of anything. And I'm actually going to go through and bring this up now a little bit because we got it out of the way. And, but you can see here, it's kind of just like floating in the middle of nowhere. We have black text on kind of a darker background. So let's go through and fix that. One of the ways that you can do that is by adding a box. So we're going to come through, add a box here, click in there. And then as soon as we add this inside of the box, you're going to notice it's covering it. So what we want to do is send the box. We have the box selected, send that backwards. So once we send that backwards, it's basically saying send it backwards in the layer if you're familiar with like Photoshop or different things like that. And then now we can see this coming through inside of here. So we're going to grab the box, and I think it will look a little bit better if the corners were rounded. So we're going to round the corners slightly there. And now we have our first name, last name, email, company name, and then the form button. I don't really like the button being kind of off-centered here, so I'm going to move that just right in there. And there is our form button. Now, while we have this form button submitted, it's a little bit different than the button that we have before, so I do want to make sure that you are aware. Here's where you can change the colors, and you'll notice inside of here, you don't necessarily have the destination that you have to click the actual form. And then inside of here is where you can go through and show a form confirmation dialog saying like, thank you. And it stays on this page, or go to a new URL or thank you page that you can go through and do once someone goes through and fills out this form specifically. For this, we are going to show a confirmation dialog box. And you're going to notice once we do that in this top left-hand corner, it says, don't forget to add this dialog box, essentially. So we want to come through and say, thank you. The form has been submitted. You can go through and customize this as much as you would like. You know, we could go through and, add a smiley face here or add images. We're just going to keep it simple like that. So we're going to hit save there. And now this is starting to look okay. Obviously, if you wanted to come through and change the color of this form, you could totally do so, changing it to black or whatever you wanted to. Of course, that goes through and messes up your text. So you'd have to come over here to the form and then go to the color text and then like maybe change this to white, and you kind of get the idea. Obviously that probably looks worse, so we're going to undo those changes, but the customization that you can do is essentially limitless. So now we're here. Let's talk about how to change this background image as well. I'm going to click on the actual image itself, and you're going to notice in this right hand column, remember the right hand column is if you want to edit things that are currently on the page. We have something that pops up that's now allowing us to edit this background. You can see we can come over here and change the image. You can also go through and do all sorts of different things. We already saw you can change the corner radius. You can change the locations, borders, but we're just going to change the image here. Now, the great thing about Unbounce as well is they have a public library of images, and also they have an integration with Unsplash that is completely free that has a lot of images inside of here that you can go through and add to your landing page. We're going to come over here to the Unbounce images though, and we are going to select this nice little coffee shop image that we have in the Unbounce library. So now we have our new image inside of here. I know it doesn't look like great or anything, but once again, this is just more for the tutorial purposes. So now that we have the basics of editing current elements that are on the page, let's actually scroll down here and let's create a new element and kind of talk about how that works. So let's pretend for a minute, this I like how the layout of this and how this looks. Let's create this on our own essentially. If you wanted to create an element that looks just like this down below, let's go through and do that. So the first thing you would need to do is come over here here to section and add a new section. You're going to come over and drop it in between the two sections that you want it to build. So we're going to add it inside of there. You notice it's going to give you this little box, and you can make this as big or as short as you would like it to. And if we were going to recreate this section down here from scratch, essentially we would probably want it about that size, and then we have, it looks like an H2 here, and then a text, and then a couple of images and some more text here. So we're going to grab the text element, we're going to drag it over, and then we are going to add our text here. And as you can see, it's all kind of like squished together, so we're going to level this out slightly. We don't want this to be an H1, we want this to be an H2. And the line spacing, as you can see, lines are like currently on top of each other right now. We want to make this line spacing a little bigger essentially. And then let's make this size, let's bring it down to a 48. And then if you wanted to type your actual size too, instead of just clicking it, you could do that as well. Say we wanted it at 47, we could do that. And so we can see what's actually behind here. Let's go through and change this text color. And I didn't have it highlighted there, so it didn't go through and change it. So let's go through and change that one more time. Choose that. There we go. So now we have our black text inside of here. And this is how to add a new section in Unbounce. So as you see, I don't really like that it is not centered in the text. So I'm going to come over here and center align that. We have that inside of there. And then now we can go through and add another text bar. And then now you notice we have these little clip art images. We're going to go and add an image now. And to do that, you come through and do exactly the exact same thing. Add the image. You can come over here, and here is our milk carton. We're going to choose that, add it inside of there, and then there's that. And if you wanted to completely left align it, you could. As you can notice, they don't have it necessarily left aligned, so you can kind of just eyeball it where you would like it be. Or if you want it to be dead in the center, you could do that as well. Let's go through and add a couple more images inside of here. So now we have those where we'd like, and then you guessed it, the last thing that we would need to do is go through and add text. You know, this could be a header inside of here, and then this one right here, go through and add text. This, it looks like they have a H3, so we would add this one as an H3 instead of a paragraph, and then bring that down, bring that over, and then here is kind of like how you would go through and build this exact thing, and this is what it would end up looking like. And now let's scroll down over to the page, and obviously now that you know how to change out images and text, you can go through and customize any of these different sections inside of here as you would like, and using the Unbounce templates, or even create your whole new landing page from scratch without any coding. One last thing I want to show you on this section is how to embed a video. Let's say instead of this image right here, we wanted this to be a video. All you would need to do is hit delete there, and then come over to embed video. And then now it's going to ask for an embed video code. Don't let the word code intimidate you. Essentially, if this was a YouTube video, we could come over here, and with any YouTube videos, you come over, and if you just hit the share button and then you grab embed right here, it will give you an embed code that you can go through and grab that whole thing right there. We're going to copy that, and then we're going to come back over to our Unbounce. And then we're going to paste that inside of there, save code, and then now we have our YouTube video inside of here, and we can adjust the amount that is showing, the size of it, and move it around inside of the landing page. So there we have our landing page and how to build it. But one thing to keep in mind that is very important is that this is only half of your traffic. You got to remember the mobile view, and Unbounce makes this really easy to optimize these in mobile. As you see here down below, there is a mobile view. You always want to come over and toggle this, because chances are if you've moved around elements, it's also changed some of the mobile views. So you want to come over here to mobile, and then it's going to walk you through kind of some messaging here, like how to best practices and things like that. I encourage you to check that out. And you're gonna notice, for instance, this YouTube video is, if somebody was to open this on mobile, it would look really funny. And chances are probably this section up here that, yeah, so you can see these sections up here and these elements that we moved around. We need to go through and do some adjustments to get them on a mobile level as well. So you'll need to come through and adjust some of these, come over here and, you know, make this smaller essentially, so it fits inside of the Unbounce square there, just like that. And then move those over. And then if you need to make these sections longer, you could go through and do that as well, and essentially make this mobile responsive as well, so that whether people are going to on desktop or on mobile, they're going to see the right thing inside of your page. And as you see, it's really easy to make sure that you are inside of those parameters. You just got to kind of move stuff around, make sure it's not red anymore. move that. If you need to make elements longer, you could do so right here, moving them along. And we actually want to make this image bigger, so we're going to do that. And you see it's making that a little bit bigger, so you may have to do a little bit of adjusting sometimes. Perfect. Now, if this really was a mobile form, I would probably want to move a lot of this stuff up as well, because I would want that form to be in the beginning screen that people do see. So just things to keep in mind. But as you see, in just a matter of seconds, I was able to make this mobile responsive as well. Obviously, you'd want to spend a lot more time than I would inside of here, but something to keep in mind. So now that we have the mobile version done, we can go back over to desktop. What I encourage you to do is to come over and actually preview it. So we're going to come over and we're going to hit preview. And don't do what I just did there, because I just went to preview mode without saving it. So you want to make sure you go through and save that page. So I can't believe I did that. So we're going to go back here and then we're going to save this. Make sure you save it before going to preview, or you will lose all that work. And we're going to hit preview here now. And then from here, you can go through and preview your page on desktop or mobile to see essentially what it looks like inside of here. And I didn't go and fix this one for the mobile version, but you can go through and just make sure everything looks as you need. And I encourage you to go through and test your form as well. You can see here it has the asterisk, so you know that things are required. For instance, if I tried to submit this form without my first name, it will not let me. So I got to go through and add that. But if I did submit it without my last name, it will let me submit the form. And essentially this is what it ends up looking like, is thank you, your form has been submitted. So from here, we want to now click on overview and go back to the overview page. So once we get to this point, there are a couple of different options. You could literally go through and publish it as is under the domain Unbounce, unbouncepages.com, and just add a subdomain inside of there and then your page path. You can go through and save and publish that. And that is the fastest and easy way to get your page live. However, the URL you'll notice is going to be unbouncepages.com /YouTube demo, which is okay, but not ideal. So if you wanted to go through and add a custom domain, it is very easy to do that. You can hit done here. And then what we want to do is actually come over here and change URL, and we want to add a new domain. And then this is where you can go through and add whatever subdomain you would like. Whether you understand subdomains or not, this isn't really doesn't really matter. Basically, most of the time people do either get or try here. It can be whatever you want, but get and try are very common ones. And then you can go through and add mysite.com. So if we were going to do ZoCo marketing, we could do zocomarketing.com inside of here. And then what it's going to do is we're going to hit create domain, and you are going to have access to your domain name provider. So once we click that, we're going to hit create domain, and it is going to pop up something that looks like this. So you need to log into your domain provider, whether this is GoDaddy, Namecheap, Bluehost, and go in and add this inside of here. I personally use Bluehost, so I'm going to go through and show you how to add this inside of a Bluehost website. Okay, and here we are inside of Bluehost, and essentially to add this subdomain, it just takes a couple clicks. It's really easy. What you want to do is go to your domains and then click on My Domains in the left-hand corner. It will take you to all of your different domains that you have inside of here. You want to then click on this Manage button for the domain that you want to attach these landing pages to, and then you want to click on DNS right here. From there, you are going to want to scroll down until you see this CNAME record. You're going to click add record. And then from here, it is going to ask for the host record. For us, we did get. So it's whatever you typed inside of there. Go and add that. We're going to add get. For get, that's probably what most people are going to do. And then you want this to point to whatever this, right? You want to copy this URL right here and then point it to that right there and then hit save. Once that is done, that is all you need to do. And then you can come back over here to Unbounce and hit got it. You can change your URL to getzocomarketing.com. Now, a lot of times this does take a couple of hours for the domain name to switch over and for the DNS record to verify those. So keep that in mind. We're going to hit save here just for now. That was actually really fast that it did that redirect for me. So now when I click on this, the domain is getzocomarketing.com /YouTube demo video. And now you have a beautiful landing page, but that is only half of the battle. Now it is time to go through and actually start sending traffic to that page. And if you want to learn how to drive more traffic with Google Ads, I recommend checking out this full tutorial right here, which will help complement this beautiful page that you now have gone through and created. We'll see you in the next video.